I recently saw this clip of Tony Blair speaking on how if you don't take the issues of asylum and immigration seriously, so-called populists will take advantage of that.
The populists and extremists gain a purchase on the political system when the moderate politicians, centre-right or centre-left, fail to deal with the issues properly. And I think if we don't get it on issues like asylum and street crime, then we create the space for the extremists to operate. The truth is, the asylum system is not working. I mean, let's be absolutely open about that. It's not working in any of the main countries around the world at the moment.
Now, slurs about populists and extremists aside, if Blair could see this back in the 90s, why didn't he do anything about it? Well, the answer to that is now pretty obvious. Tony Blair was the first bona fide globalist, liberal authoritarian leader we've had. This is evidenced via the destruction of British values that occurred under Blair. We went from a respect for law and order, for freedom of conscience and individual liberty, to a national identity supposedly rooted in the equalitarian dogma of tolerance and diversity. Of course, the equalitarian dogma isn't about tolerance and diversity anyway, it's just a method of pushing a left-wing agenda. Yet what's most odd about it is how our liberal elites parrot this at us as if we're supposed to believe it and not notice that the French, the Americans, the Canadians and the Germans all say exactly the same thing now. So it's quite evident then that not just the UK but the whole of the Western world is in the grip of an enforced liberal economic and cultural agenda. It's this agenda that's made a huge lurch to the left across the Western world and demands that we loose any traditional bonds to our nation while turning a blind eye to some appalling cultural practices, quote unquote, and be ever open to levels of immigration that will change our countries irrevocably. And if you have the temerity to question any of this or try and challenge it via Brexit or voting for reform or whatever, the liberal elite such as James O'Brien here will come out and call you a Hitler fan and a fascist sympathiser. Now this system seems held in place by a bunch of shady immigration lawyers such as this lady.
I'll probably say this, going slightly off script, I can probably dismantle all of your immigration policies. Please do reach out. So I'm an immigration solicitor and I work for the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants. Right. My clients are in limbo and stuck in the system for years. They can't work, and some of you do say you'll give them the right to work, but really you haven't before. And they are stuck in crap housing, bad hotels. Yeah. They are put in army barracks that are not fit for purpose, and they are also put onto barges. These are traumatized people, and we demonize them.
Now, as I've said before, I'm originally from Leicester, and Leicester was the first city in the UK to have white British as a minority. And growing up in and around Leicester, I didn't see any migrants held in these awful places she's talking about. In fact, they were the majority of people around. They had normal jobs and they lived in homes like everybody else. So much as this lady will try and make out that I'm just some evil bigot for saying this, my concern isn't that I hate migrants for some random reason, but that my home city is now minority white British, and that's a trend that's only going to continue all around the country to all different cities and towns. And secondly, as no one ever seems to ask people like this, if this situation is so terrible, if the British people are so evil and racist, why do all these immigrants always want to come here year after year in their millions? In my eyes, what's been foisted on the British people is a sort of double betrayal. First of all, the mass immigration, but secondly, the moving of the Overton window way to the left and calling any normal person an evil toxic bigot who's not welcome in modern Britain simply for being worried about immigration levels. This is, of course, why Nigel Farage is currently enjoying such huge support. However, if the left-wing mainstream continue to do this, they're going to see much more right-wing figures than Nigel Farage crop up. Anyway, these are just some of my thoughts. Do let me know what you think down below, and do consider subscribing to the channel.